How's it going, guys? Welcome to another episode of Staying Connected, where we explore the depths of self, people around us, and our environment. We hope to uncover life lessons and advice, meaningful relationships, and to learn about one another through open and honest conversations. How's it going? I am Kenny.
And I'm Scott. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So for today's episode, we're talking about communication, especially in the workplace. So communication for me is a topic that is very underlooked. There's a lot of bad communication habits and skills going around, and I think that's an area that will be very good to address in this episode. So I like to start with a failure of mine, especially in the workplace. So back when I was training clients one-on-one, it was more of like for like fitness, at this private gym. So one of these, the owner, and he was also a trainer. He would pass clients on to the other trainer. Take them over. Monitor their progress, make sure they hit their goals. So he passed on this client to me, right? I've never met this person. He just gave me the rundown. Okay, this is the person's goal. They want to lose weight, gain muscle, move better, lift heavier weights, whatever. Okay. So basically he told me, okay, work with her. She's real easygoing, and you're going to like her. She's very funny. And that's it. That's all the information he gave to me. And I asked him, is there any other important things I should know? Because I want to make sure I make a good first impression, like injuries, any medical issues. And the owner was like, no, she'll be good. No injuries so far. So, I meet the lady later. Okay? As expected, she's very fun to work with. But during the sessions, we're doing some movements, and I was explaining things to her, and I could tell she got really, really frustrated. And I was really confused because this is a really basic movement, and I wasn't giving like a super detailed things of like step by step what she do, just like basic cues. So then, she doesn't get overloaded with information. And she got really frustrated, and she's like, you know what? This is really complicated. Can we do something more simple? And, and it's like we regressed it so much. It's like, at the end of the day, it didn't really feel like a workout for her because she was really frustrated. And I was frustrated myself because, I thought I was explaining these things very clearly, very well. And I thought I was getting my point across whenever we're doing these exercises. So come to find out, I reassure, it's your first day, we're getting back of it because we just came back from like a Christmas and New Year's vacation. So I told her, it's just the first week, you're going to get back into it. So I come to find out from my boss that, oh yeah, she has a learning disability. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, geez, you could have told me that, So for her learning disability, it takes her a very long time to comprehend the information and then to, take action to it. So if he had told me that, I would have been more patient. I would have, walked through with her step by step. I would have been more lenient instead of just getting frustrated. Instead of that, what, let's move on to the next one. But one of the core things that I've learned from that situation, and we'll talk more about it later, was, I wasn't persistent enough in getting the right information. I was just blaming people, like how I blame my boss. I should have taken ownership. Instead of blaming him, I should have been, man, that's on me because I didn't do my job correctly. I didn't do my job communicating to her that, hey, I noticed you had some troubles with this. Did this happen in the past when you're working with the owner? What can I do to help? And I could have gotten information about her learning disability instead of making her feel frustrated, instead of making her feel less confident in herself. Because if you can't make your client confident about themselves and give them that self-esteem, you sort of feel like you failed as a trainer. So I've did a lot of bad mistakes that, like I said, we're going to talk about it. So yeah, that was just a big learning lesson for me, like not assuming that someone's got it, not assuming that I got all the information, and of course taking ownership and taking initiative to ask that person more questions instead of just relying on the other person or the owner, for more information. So that's completely on me. I was very lazy, and I just assumed that I knew it all, and then that my client, didn't understand. In my head, I was like, these are basic instructions. I don't understand how you're not getting them. So big learning lesson for me. I guess want to flip it back to you, Kenny. Any situation or a time when, you failed at communicating, and then like, what was the result of that? Or what was the consequence of that?
Well, I mean, touching on what you said, just yeah, never assuming. It's kind of pretty dangerous when it comes to like assuming that it's going to be this way. But I guess for me personally, at one of my previous jobs, I worked at a language school, which majority of the coworkers were Japanese. So already there, it was such a language barrier because a lot of the students that went to this language school came from Japan, and my coworkers were Japanese. So they would basically communicate with agents in Japan while I was the only, I guess, fluent English speaker.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So first off, the language barrier was kind of tough for about a good year and all that. And I was a designer slash marketing for that language school. And for me to collaborate with my coworkers who work primarily in sales, it was difficult, but at the same time, we really had to collaborate as much as we could.
Right.
I guess one example that really stood out was just a lot of like the design materials that I create for agents back in Japan. Sometimes my coworkers here would tell me to design a certain piece, and then I would show it to them, and they would say, "Oh, it's beautiful," and little did I know like what exactly the agents wanted back in Japan. So they would send over the marketing collateral to Japan and then send it back to Hawaii with all these revisions that needed to be made. And on my part, I would always ask questions on like, oh, what exactly are you guys looking for? Because as a designer, you can design however you want, but if you have no direction, it is very difficult. So at the same time, just the communication between my coworkers and myself was really tough, because first it was a strict deadline, and on top of that, I was the only one who was experienced in design, and um, I guess the failure of it was that I just kept on designing and designing and designing when I should have asked more questions and just tried to find ways on how to complete this project, because yeah, again, there's deadlines, and at the end of the day, I just learned that, it's better to ask questions, ask more questions as you can, before you're stuck just in the same position.
Know the objective, huh?
Yes. And yeah, I mean, my coworkers were there to help me, but at the same time, it was just me who was the designer the whole time. Yeah, so at the end of that experience, it was mostly related to asking more questions, which I should have done. And yeah, it's a collaborative effort in the end, communication.
But going back now that you have the knowledge,
Yeah.
if you were to be in that same position, what kind of questions would you ask them?
Well, I know that I guess there's different types of design that each culture likes. So
Mm-hmm.
that's as a designer, you know, I guess Japanese advertisements, let's say Filipino advertisements, American advertisements, they're all different. I think one of my questions would be, yeah, what is the primary, I guess, focus of Japanese advertisements? Like, what is it? The
Mm-hmm.
text? Is it the color? Is it the
Right.
images? Like that. So yeah, to figure out what their primary focus is was key, because then I can kind of know whether or not, oh, should I add more text or should I add more
Mm-hmm.
image? So yeah, it was just not just language barrier, but um, just a sense of cultural differences that really played a
Right.
toll on this experience. Um, yeah.
How come they didn't hire like another person that could speak English and Japanese pretty well?
Well, it was at that time, it was just like a budgeting issue.
I see.
So they wanted to do stuff in house, and I was the person there that was capable of doing that. Um, and yeah, I just continued that position for a good amount of time, like a couple months. And from there, it taught me a lesson to, yeah, just learn a little bit more about communication with other cultures, especially when it comes to designing. Because, you know, you have clients or you like when it comes to like working out and fitness and
Mm-hmm.
all that. So,
Right.
I mean, that itself, you have just a diverse set of clients that you probably dealt with, and everybody's different.
That's
Everybody
very true.
has different goals and different communication skills. So that's why we're kind of just like diving a little deeper into all of this because,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, communication habits and just our experiences with it, it really affects, yeah, just our communication in general.
Yeah. Just to clarify what you just said about different clients. So for you'll see that through the door. You know, like I could get a guide that we real hyped up, and my method of communication for him is like, hey, we're gonna hit this hard, throw in some swear words, you know, and you know, like hey, let's go, and real hype him up. But for you know, for a mom with like 2 or 3 kids, that's not the right method. I have I find that I have to ask, oh, how was that? No, did you feel the right muscle? Do you feel that right there? No, do you need a break? Okay, grab some water, crack some jokes, ask her more about her kids. Because for one person, all they care about is just getting the workout in and just crushing the workout. They don't have to talk. For another person, I have to make them feel good for coming in order to get repeat visits. Because the only way to get results is to have someone be consistent and have someone keep coming back. And if I make someone feel good about doing the exercise or being under my training or my tutelage, then they're more likely to come back. So you really have to customize the way you talk to people, you know, and just you do that by you're right, ask them questions like, hey, what's your goal? You know, you want to lose fat, great. You want to increase your squat or your bench by whatever so amount. You want to become a better athlete, great. And like how you said about if you know what the focus is, you know, for different cultures, then you don't have to spend all that time focusing on like a bigger picture. You can spend all your time focusing on the right thing, you know, because if you bring
Yeah.
people a whole bunch of fluff, you know, they're gonna, of course, they're gonna make so much edits, and that wastes time on both sides. Because if you give people a more focused product of what they want, then they're able to define it and clarify it better, and then you can make the focused product even better instead of trying to use that time fixing like a broad general picture.
Yeah. And I guess, yeah, every person you meet, whether it's a client or just anyone, you're going to have to tailor your communication skills differently with each person that comes about. So in this case, in the professional world, it's, yeah, whether it's working with different clients or your coworkers, it's
Mhm.
always different. So
Okay,
yeah,
let's transition to, like, let's say you have a boss that's pretty that doesn't give you like all the information. You know, they're the boss that's like, um, here's the project. Okay, you just go ahead and do it. You know, do whatever you want. You know, like the boss that doesn't like give you too much information. Um, but then like if you get it wrong, they're all over you. I think we've all had bosses like that, right? Where the expectations are super high, but then the resources, you know, and the help
it's
isn't
very
very
minimal.
high.
Yeah.
Yes. So what would you do if you had a boss like that? Um,
Mm-hmm. Um, I would say based on experience, just yeah, working with different clients, design wise. Yeah, I had one client that would just say, "Oh, just design something," and that's it. Um, so
helpful.
yeah, so that was basically it. And I would ask questions as much as possible beforehand and just try to get an idea of what their ultimate goal is for whatever design that I'm trying to create. And um, yeah, so sending in drafts every now and then would always help, just so I know what they like and dislike when it comes to first draft, second draft, third draft of whatever design I create. Um, and yeah, it's basically tailoring to what they want, but in this case, this person doesn't know what they want. You just have to go
Hmm.
freely. Um, so from there, I would just continue to ask more questions and
Just
yeah,
to add to that, I think those are very great points, and you know, it just lets you know like what are the crucial areas of communication. Communication is asking the right questions. And one thing I've learned about dealing with bosses like that is knowing their preferred method of communication. So I would just ask the boss like, hey, you gave me this, okay? I just want to clarify. So with this, I just want to clarify this with you because I want to know if this is the right objective, because I want to do a good job. So I would ask them, hey, what if I need to talk to you? Like, would you prefer text? Would you prefer email? Would you prefer a phone call? Because some bosses that I've had, no phone calls after 7 p.m. because that's their time with their kids. And some bosses are like, yep, if it's important, call me. If not, email. So some people are very, um, what's the word? They're very particular about the way of communication. Some bosses that I've had, they're very open. So I took the opportunity to be like, hey, can you, I'm going to do this. Can you like walk through it with me? Because this is how I'm going to do it. So I want to see, I want to make sure we're on the same page before I actually do some real work. So this is how I'm going to do it. And from there, they can just guide me to the right path. And then, like what you said, just clarify, hey, is this the objective? Is this the goal? Or I might need some more resources. Can you help me out with that? So almost being honest and truthful in the beginning of like, hey, I might need some more resources because so and so and so. So in a way, you kind of have to do a little
yeah,
research and know a little bit yourself. But if you're honest and truthful and tell, hey, I need some help, or like I'm stuck on this, instead of being like, I want to impress the boss, do it without communicating with your boss at all. It's a guaranteed way to fail at the project.
yeah.
So
I think just tying it back to being collaborative, and yeah, it's a collaborative, communicative um, experience that you go through with your boss or anybody you talk to, because
mhm.
there's going to be two sides, and both sides will have to come together and kind of compromise and make sure that things follow through. as both of you guys wanted to.
Now let's flip it. Did you ever have a boss that was just amazing at communicating and got things done? You have an example in mind?
I would say my current boss is because I work in the communication business. Over communicating is a key thing, especially now that we're working from home. But whether I'm working at home or in the office, communicating as much as you can with details and everything that you need is super key in order to get things done. And my boss has really taken the initiative into making sure that we're completing our projects on time, and also just communicating on a personal level as well, just making sure that we're all okay and our workload is great as well. And I guess when it comes to different assignments, making sure that they're giving us some time to really focus on what the primary objective of that assignment is. And so what I really admire about her leadership is that she makes the communication flow just work well. And if I have any questions, she's there to answer them, whether it's through email, call, text, anything. It is available. Her door is open as well, not right now as I'm working from home, but the communication barrier is, it's easy to get that one-on-one conversation with her, which I'm very thankful for, especially with a large company like that. And as a boss, you have to handle whether it's like small businesses with 20 people or less, or 100 employees. Being the boss is very challenging, especially when it comes to communicating with everybody.
Well, make sure you tell her to watch this episode.
I will communicate that to her.
It's a very important leadership quality that you put your team before everything else. Because once you start putting yourself ahead of the team, then ego starts to come in place. You'll start to micromanage. You'll start to over communicate. You over worry, and you'll be constantly letting your team members know, hey, did you do that? Hey, did you do that? Don't forget about this. So going to the over communicating aspect, you over communicate too much. That shows not enough trust in your team members. That you did a poor job yourself. Just tell them the objective, give them the right resources, and let these people take charge. And if they need you, like your bosses, just be open. You can't say that, I have an open door policy, and then when someone brings a problem up, you're like, oh my God, what is it now, Kenny? You can't have that attitude, because I've seen that so many times in leaders, and where open door policy, and then they end up just yelling at the person who brought it up. It's like, why couldn't you catch that? Or like, couldn't you solve that yourself? And like just going back to just blaming and pointing fingers, which is one of the things you should never do in communication. Blame.
Yes.
Exactly. And you just damage a relationship. Now, do you think that team member is going to work harder for you because you blame them? Of course not. Of course not. So I think leaders need to take it upon themselves to make sure from the beginning to tell people, here's what you need to do. Be truthful about everything. Like, hey, this is going to take a long time. This is going to take a lot of resources. And I understand that. So if you need me, this is how you can do it. If you need me to walk through a couple problems with you, go ahead and ask me. Because if not, people are going to assume the worst. People are going to think that, I don't want to make my boss worry, or I don't want to make my boss think that I'm not as good. So as a leader, you need to communicate the standards or else, people are just going to assume. And then the goal of
Yeah.
the team and the team performance goes down, and you don't want that.
Yeah, I mean, I learned that making assumptions could hurt you because it's just a lack of communication. Whether it's a simple task that you're given and you think that it's going the right way, asking question doesn't hurt. You just have to make sure that you're clear on things before it actually is shared, kind of thing. So, how is it with your workplace as well, like leadership and just the communication?
Mm-hmm. So since we are in COVID times, and our leadership has done us a tremendous job consistently putting out newsletters and emails and doing media about what's going on in the community, what's going on with our facility, and just being really, really truthful and transparent about everything. They're not hiding a single thing. Let's say, for example, if someone were to catch COVID, they wouldn't lie about it. Instead, they'll be more proactive. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take testing every week. We're gonna make sure that employees don't bunch together. We're gonna pack their lunches so that everyone can just grab and go, so don't stay in one spot. So they're putting together so many different things to create a very safe environment and safe working environment for all the employees. And the whole time we're seeing leadership just running around, asking people for help, making sure our residents and our clients are satisfied, making sure their opinion matters. So it's been very impressive how they've handled it at the workplace. It's just like some of the principles we were talking about, being very transparent, putting the work where it belongs, and showing people that, we're not just about it. We're not just talking about it. We're about it. So I'm learning nothing but the best from our leadership. So whoever's watching this at my workplace,
it's such a job. It's such a pressured moment too, and for them to handle the situation with just ease, it is. I give my hats off to them. Because eventually, your mentality goes insane, and then how do you handle communication from there?
And especially during these times, like even let's say you lie about something, even if it's minor, and then like the truth comes out, you just lost everybody's trust.
Yes, that
trust and leadership capital are the two most important things. You can't lose trust and leadership capital, because without that, people are not going to believe you. They're not going to follow you. And in times like this, you need to come together as a team and as a company to fight and make sure everyone is safe from COVID-19. So just be honest. It's like, yes, it'll suck at the moment, but we'll get through it together. And people will find out the truth eventually, even if you lie.
I know, it's like we're already dealing with a lot already, and for us to just question everything and be hidden from the truth is kind of like, it makes things
slap in the face.
Yeah,
exactly. And if you tell the truth, that's your baseline. That's what everyone thinks about you when they hear your name, and that's your reputation. You're gonna be that person that tells the truth. You're gonna be that company that no matter what happens, integrity and transparency is the most important thing. And that's how people will regard you as higher status than other people or other companies that lie about these things. And at the end of the day, it's more of long term. It's a long-term game. So people need to start playing more long-term.
Preach.
Which makes me think about how people can start getting ready for the workplace and skills they need for the workplace. So I'm thinking back in like high school, in college, did they have any classes to help prepare you for the workplace? Or was it just on the job training? You had to fail a lot to get where you are now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixture of both, but class wise, public speaking has to be one of the greatest fears of all people of any
Mm-hmm.
kind. And that was one class that I mean, I was a little nervous at first to dive into, but along the way, it just opened me up into learning what my capabilities are. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, public speaking and just being very decisive with what you want. And in addition to that, taking like business communication courses also helped
Right.
as well. And communication and culture was another thing that
Mm.
helped as well. Because then, like I mentioned at the beginning of our podcast, we deal with a lot of or we meet different clients or we meet different people everywhere we go, and our communication skills varies depending on which person you're talking to, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
um, your friend or your boss. Those communication styles are very different.
Right.
Um, Whereas, yeah, you're speaking on a casual level versus formal. Um, so learning that in school was pretty key. Business communication, public speaking, learning how to speak in public, um,
Exactly.
basically. And yeah, so what I guess one of the highlights of my college career was taking these public speaking courses because it allowed me to have the confidence to speak in front of crowds, and just speak to anybody out there, whether it's walking around town or
Mm-hmm.
any job you get. You're going to have to introduce yourself to every single person, and yeah, to have that confidence and to know, um, just yeah, to have that strength is pretty key. So anybody that hasn't taken any public speaking courses yet, whether you're in college or not even going to college, yeah, just learning how to all the fundamentals of public speaking
Mm-hmm.
is pretty important. I would go in more in depth into it. But have you taken any public speaking courses, Scott?
I'm very upset with myself that I've only taken one public speaking class during college, and it was like mandatory. And it turned out to be the best class I've taken throughout my 4 years of college, and it was probably the most impactful and the most meaningful class that still serves as a cornerstone of me starting my professional business life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think more people need to, like you said, take more classes, because in order to get better at speaking, you need to suck a lot. You need
Yeah.
to start failing all the time. You need to see what your weak points are. You need to see how your body language is when you're talking to someone. You need to see how your reaction is when you're in front of a crowd, in front of the
Mm-hmm.
opposite sex, in front of someone of a higher status, could be your boss or whatever. You need to go through all these experiences and you need to put yourself in that in order to feel comfortable. Because the only time that you can appropriately or like concisely put out the right words
Mm-hmm.
for another person is when you're comfortable, when you're not thinking so much. Because when you're nervous, you're thinking about so many different things, and the little
Yeah.
details now become big details, and
Yeah.
in your head you're making your problems bigger than they actually are. So you gotta just, even if you don't go to class right now, just practice with your friends or like practice with your neighbor or record yourself. Giving, you can even read read a made up speech already. Just record yourself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how's your pronunciation? Do
Yeah.
you have run-on sentences where you keep going, 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 no
Mm-hmm.
pauses? How's your hands? How's your posture and all
Mm-hmm.
that? How's your eyes? Do you smile?
Look
Because
in the
like
mirror.
I yeah I because right now when we're doing these podcasts, like I'm looking at myself like am I just frowning as you're talking, or
Yes.
like am I being engaged and smiling and like nodding my head, like making sure I'm staying active.
Yeah.
But I'm not just listening just to reply. I'm listening to make sure I'm asking you the right questions, to follow up, to clarify certain things, and to make sure to let you know that I'm there with your story. I'm there listening with you. So don't make not having class an excuse. This is probably one of the most important skills that you need to learn in life,
It
communication
is.
in general, not even the workplace, in general.
Yeah. It's just one of the building blocks that we pretty much need when it comes to just working anywhere or meeting people. I would start off by learning how to introduce yourself. It is just key because you're meeting people and they want to know who you are. So why not learn? Why not kind of list down, I guess, aspects of yourself that you think are interesting and share it with other people and get their feedback. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, nonverbal communication is also a key component into just having an effective communication between people, because your body
Yes.
language, if your body seems to be down all the time,
Mm-hmm.
just like shoulders down,
They'll see it.
yeah, they'll see it and they'll kind of give off that idea that you're not interested or you're just, yeah. I give it out to comedians because they have a job that they need to make people laugh in addition to just having that energy all throughout that, let's say, 1 hour show that they have. Making people laugh is difficult.
For an hour straight, yeah.
Yes, going back to like my first public speaking class, we had a speech where we had to act as if we were a comedian, and we had to make people laugh in addition to speaking clearly and precisely and just everything that comedians do. So it is, for comedians, I gotta give them a round of applause because it is a tough job. And just any performer or anybody doing public speaking presentations like that. But you just have to try it out yourself. And
exactly.
You're gonna suck at it at first, like I did. You probably did as well.
Yep. Of course, you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, and that's how you learn. And yeah, to this day, I am still, I still get nervous when it comes to speaking in public, even like Zoom calls. Like
Same. Same.
Like before, I used to like overthink stuff, like even before I started talking, and then once I started talking, I would just blabber on.
What do you think would be 3 important skills? And of course, they're not the end all be all, but the 3 most important skills for a good communicator.
First one, eye contact is key. No matter where you are at, whether it's face-to-face with a single individual or a crowd, eye contact is key, because if you're making a speech in front of hundreds of people and you look at that person all the way in the back, they're gonna think to themselves like, oh, this guy is actually talking to me. So it'll make them feel good. And face to face, it'll make people aware that you're listening to them. Which brings me to my next point is an effective communicator also listens. I guess the third one is your body language is pretty key. So whether it's using hand gestures, the way you're standing up or sitting down, is pretty key, just to kind of show people that how interested you are in something.
I think the most 3 important skills or things you need to do to be a effective communicator would be, I'm kind of cheating, but then like you have to practice. So practice body language, practice your storytelling, practice your gestures, practice where your pauses are, like practice introducing yourself, because once you're good at like certain things like introducing yourself, because what's the first question everyone asks you at networking events? What do you do?
That's
So
it.
it's
That's
it's
a
it's
question.
better it's better it's one thing to say, oh yeah, I'm a trainer, versus, oh yeah, my job is to keep the senior population of our community as fit as possible, to so they can enjoy all their daily living activities, like hanging out with their grandchildren, or like still playing golf, or keeping active with all their friends, you know,
Yeah.
so that way they don't need to be bound to a wheelchair. So that sounds infinitely
Yeah.
better than, I'm just a
I'm
trainer.
interested. Yeah. Spiced it up. And
So practice. Like Allen Iverson. You get the reference. So
yeah.
number two would be, I just thought about this in my head. Number two would be, now don't edit this out, Kenny. I want people to
Okay.
see me suffer,
There
because
we
I
go.
didn't practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I'm
Thinking on
just
the
using a
spot.
method.
It is. Yeah.
I'm using a method where I just talk about certain things to delay time. So first one was practice. Um, Second one is making sure people understand what you're talking about, making complex things simple. Because have you ever talked to like somebody, like a boss or a coworker, and they're telling you to do something, and then all you got out of that conversation was like, what the heck are you talking
Yeah.
about? Or say that one more time, I didn't understand.
Mhm.
Because if you're good at nonverbal gestures, and your postures
Yeah.
are good, and you speak very eloquently, none of that matters if the message didn't get through. Like, if people don't know what you're talking about, then
Yeah.
you're not an effective communicator. People gotta know what you're talking about. If you can make complex things easy to follow, I think you're a very, very good communicator. So my third thing would be to, it's more of a principle, but
Mhm.
you got to have that mindset to get better. As if, I don't know if you ever watch Toastmasters, and that's when
Yeah.
all these really good, gifted speakers come together. They're always talking about, oh, how can I get better? How
Mhm.
can I improve my skills? And some of the things they do is just, they watch really good people speak. They record themselves. Um, they ask their friends. They ask for feedback. They do research. They look at articles, look at online clips of other people. So they're a student of the game. And similar to practice, this is a distant cousin, but you gotta consistently improve every single day. Even if it's less than 1%, you gotta make progress. And the only way to do that is to put in the work, and to have that mindset. I'm okay, but I can still be better. And this podcast gives me a chance to get better at speaking every single time. So I
Same
don't know if
here.
I watched the last couple episodes of us, or for myself, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
goodness, why did I stutter like that? No, and in
Mhm.
this episode, I've stuttered as well, and I speak
Mhm.
too fast at certain points,
Mhm.
and this is just an opportunity to get better. And when I watch this episode later, I'm gonna take out some points, and I'm gonna get a little bit better. So
Yeah.
by the time episode 100 hits, you best bet your bottom dollar
Uh-huh.
that I'm gonna be much better than I was at episode one,
We're
for
gonna
sure.
look back on this, and then we're gonna be like, "Oh, look at how episode so and so was, and look at our communication
Yeah, you don't want to
skills."
stay the same.
yeah. So I mean,
Awesome.
going back to your second point though, just yeah, making complex things um, more simple for anybody to understand. That's really key because yeah, like if you're starting a new job, you're gonna hear different terminology that you're
Mm-hmm.
not aware of, and you don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Especially like
Right.
if you're in the medical field as well,
Yep.
it's like I mean, you might know a couple words, but there's gonna be a lot of other words that you're like, what the hell is that?
Mm-hmm.
And um, yeah, and yeah, in every industry, there's gonna be things that you're unaware of. And yeah, to have that communication ability to make something so complex and just yeah, be able to, let's say, dumb it down, but I would say just make it more simple for anybody, like walking on the streets of Waikiki, for them to understand, is really important, because then you can communicate with anybody. So
That's when you know that you've understand the material, if you can simplify things. And of course, know the technical terms, but more often than not, your clients don't care about the complexities or the technical jargon.
yeah,
They care about, okay, does that make sense, or do I understand that? Because if you use a whole bunch of technical jargon, you're gonna make them confused, and they're gonna make them frustrated. Like, why start a relationship like that?
yeah,
Keep it simple, silly.
yeah. Keep it simple. Here we go. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. All right. Let's go ahead and jump into, I say that a lot. Let's go into our recommendations of the week. It could be a book, a resource, article, movie, tip, quote, etc., etc.
etc. All right. Okay. I got something. How do you like to start off your day? Like, what's one thing you usually do to start off your day?
Read or play the piano when I wake up.
Oh, that's interesting. That's pretty fascinating right there. Well, I guess for me personally, I like to start off by drinking some green tea.
Hey.
It is the first thing that I do. I mean, once I wake up, I make sure to mix some hot water and green tea. I don't drink coffee. It's been about close to 3 years of not drinking coffee. And green tea has really helped a lot, because not only it's natural and very herbal, but at the same time, there's a lot of antioxidants and a lot of nutrients that would help you prevent like high blood pressure or high cholesterol. And it's just good for the digestive system, and it cleans up your body, and at the same time cleans up your mind, your brain, keeps you focused and gives you the strength and builds your immune system, especially during these times. I specifically go for Itoen green tea. This is not a sponsorship. It's just,
I wish it was. Sponsor us, Itoen.
This is just my personal all-time go-to green tea brand, because yeah, it's very simple. It's just water and green tea made in Japan. And yeah, ever since I switched over to green tea, which is just in the mornings, I only drink green tea in the mornings. Yeah, it makes my day a lot more better, and my body feel a lot more alert, and I'm able to conquer the day and my week, and I'm energized, just like I am now. Yeah.
Energy Kenny. That's your new nickname for this podcast. Energy Kenny.
All right, that is my
Kenergy.
Oh,
Kenergy.
Shirt. Oh. We have something right now. We have something. So yeah, continue to drink green tea if you haven't drank green tea yet. Do it.
Where can they find this? Is it anywhere local?
Okay, you can find it in any grocery store, any Japanese market, and yes, it is very affordable. It won't cost you more than $10, and it'll last you. There's 20 bags in this one. It'll last you 20 days, pretty much. And yeah, you can use one of the packets multiple times, at least 2 or 3 times throughout the day. Yeah, it'll keep you refreshed, and also as a designer, very nice packaging, very simple. Again,
the little things.
Yes, this is not an ad. So this is
one day I imagine, guys, you put in the code word Kenergy, you get a 15% off. One day,
Yeah, I will give you a percentage of that.
All
And
right.
yeah, so it is.
After,
It is just. It is my go-to. Without green tea, I feel like my day is just lost.
no energy, yeah.
No energy. Yeah, that's why I gotta take some green tea to have this podcast continue on for years and years and years.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
till we die. So
Right
yeah,
on.
thank you. Go green. Green tea.
Go green. Green.
All right. Take it away, Scott.
All right. For me, especially this year, I've been obsessively pursuing learning how to ask better questions. And that's my tip for the week. Just learning to ask better questions, because when you ask better questions, um, you develop a better process of learning about another person. Because one question could be like, why did you become, or whatever, why did you become um, a spokesperson for green tea, versus what led you to fall in love with this product, and can you tell me more about the steps of how you became a sponsor for them. Is a much better question. I mean, because I think when you ask better questions, you get better answers, and when you get better answers, that shows that the person you're asking the question to, they now have to go through some thought process, and that makes them a better thinker. And therefore, when they give you the answer to your question, it's something new, it's something fresh that people can like take and run with it. And then with that advice, it becomes, you get better actions out of it. So if someone asks a good question, you get a good answer out of it, and then now you have good actions out of it. So it is just a constant cycle, and especially I'm gonna keep pursuing this method of trying to ask better questions, especially for this podcast, so I can get better answers and provide people with better content and better value. So stay on the path of asking better questions, folks. This has been another wonderful episode.
I'm so happy that you guys are continuing to tune in. Yeah, we're very excited to always launch our weekly podcasts on YouTube and yeah, all throughout social media. And we just want to thank you guys for just sticking with us and tuning in as much as you can. We're here for questions or just support. And yeah, we hope that you guys can continue watching us till we're like 100. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And then we also got our social handles, which we are on Twitter at Stay Connected HI, and on Instagram, Staying Connected. Until next week, we want you guys to stay healthy, stay safe, continue gathering, growing together. And this is Kenny, this is
Scott.
and we're heading out. And we'll see you again next week.